Hey everybody, it's time for a new video, and today we're going to be drawing this while I explain the down angle. Maybe. I haven't recorded the audio yet, so it might not be as accurate, but we'll see. So stay tuned. Alright, what's up everybody? We're just going to go through the sketch process real quick. So this was a pretty interesting challenge. It was originally a commission, and somebody wanted to do basically the introduction of the big three. So we started with Negeray. So whenever I'm trying to do these sort of poses, I'll usually focus on the head, because in the way I see it is the head will be the biggest thing. The camera is going to be at a top-down angle, which means it's going to be looking at the head. So the head's naturally going to be like the closest thing to the camera, which makes it the biggest thing. So I'm trying to figure out kind of like what the general composition of the body is going to be here. And I make this change because I wanted to make it look like it was more at the top of her head. So you could see the eyes would be more kind of facing forward and angled down a bit more. It's kind of hard to pick apart the perspective, but I kind of eyeball it the whole time. So here I'm trying to kind of come up with where she's shifting her weight. And in the reference, her arms are behind her back. So I figure I don't even show the arms, I'll just show the shoulders. And so from there, everything's going to be kind of going backward. So we can continue our way on through Negeray, and we get into Mirio. And this one was hard because like he has his turned up wrists. He has this like power pose, and I was trying to figure out how could I mimic that pose but like at the down angle, and so I had to make sure I was doing the wrist in the right direction. All right, so we're kind of putting his face in, and I'm still trying to shift it around. Right now he kind of looks like he's laying in a coffin, but I want to make it look more naturally kind of curved. I wish I could put my hands on the screen so I could kind of show you the direction, but I'll put a graphic. I kind of want to make it more of like a curved angle, because if Mirio is on the right side, and the lens, like the camera lens, is kind of pointed down at Negeray, if you think of like a fisheye lens sort of in the corner, it would be more of like a curved angle. So I'm still working at it. You can kind of see there's that curve now. I pushed his foot back. But I think it looks like I kind of land on that pose. And then we're moving on to our boy Amajiki. And his was challenging because he has like he's like not a very confident man, right? So he kind of slouches and has his shoulders up with his head. So I had to focus on putting his head down. But usually you'll see as I continue my way through, that's like kind of a loose sketch, and I need to just solidify the ink a bit more. I started looking at her hair for a second, and it looked like she was just encapsulated in an egg. So you could see I'll add like some hair adjustments here because it just kind of looks weird. Yeah, because the way the gravity works is the hair will be more like pulled down, so it'll give off more of like a teardrop sort of shape. And you can see all their feet are like very small. If it's starting from like going back to our normal rule of depth with the perspective shots with the hand like up front in your face and the body in the back, we're kind of doing it the same here, where it's like the face is very up front in the camera angle, with the body being in the middle ground, and then the feet would be like the smallest thing furthest back in the foreground. So yeah, that's going to be our rough ink and just tightening up some stuff, and then we're going to move on to the print and inking and everything. All right, hello everybody. Now that we have our finished drawing, we're going to move, as always, into the ink phase and try to approach Negeray's hair here. And you'll see kind of as I'm going through it, I'm flicking my wrist with each line as if you're drawing these lines really slowly, in my case, the line will turn out really wobbly and sort of just kind of messy. So I have to like kind of do it in a fast motion to be able to pull off the more straight look. And another thing that I kind of will approach doing when I'm inking things is I'll start each line light, and then halfway through I'll apply pressure and then try to end light. So I could create that more tapered effect that you'll find if you want. And if you want to get that sort of effect, you have to kind of have a bit more control in your wrist when you're drawing the line. So like start it off really really lightly, and then it's kind of hard to explain. Like you want to apply pressure as you're doing the flick of the wrist, but still kind of lift the pen off towards the end of the line. It's a very sort of literal way to explain it, but so something you'll see with sort of a lot of animes out there is they do kind of love this down angle, and I feel like it's a really good sort of way to show a character in perspective. Like it's cool to draw a character and um, have that character sort of displayed through just like a standard pose, your average sort of like character profile shot, right? But if you're drawing it at sort of this angle, you can see more of the character's face and a bit more of like the personality in that sense, right? And we're flipping over into Amajiki. Tamaki Amajiki, I believe is his name. It's hard because like all of these characters from My Hero have like so many names. Yeah, Amajiki was pretty hard because I had to like be able to get his slouching sort of effect in play while also lending to the certain angle I picked. So, with them all standing in a line, I wanted the lens to just be more of a I explained this during the sketch, but more of like a fisheye uh, effect, which, if it's in, you see in fisheye lens, like the image sort of warps around the lens. So that's why I kind of have them in more of like a Mirio's facing the left, Amajiki is facing the right, and Nejre's in the middle instead of just one straight line. And it's also kind of a good way to fill the composition, in a tasteful manner, where is instead of just drawing them all next to each other, you can kind of get every corner of the sheet of paper, right? And that's kind of a big thing with me is as I'm going through each sketch, I'm trying to figure out like what is the best way to finish off the composition. In some cases, you'll see I'll just cut off like a body part or a hand halfway off the sheet, and it feels more in motion that way to have the shot just cutting off most of it. But in this case, I feel like it's probably best to keep them all fitting in the same shot, as if like one was sort of, if one wasn't fully in the shot, it would make the rest of it lopsided. And that's kind of, I feel like I need to do another video when it comes to just composing things, because I do a lot of it halfway, when I'm halfway done with the sketch. Like I'll finish the sketch completely and then I'll try to adjust it and turn it so I can find kind of the best way to fill up a white sheet of paper, right, with no excessive white space. Like you could see there's a little bit of white space here above Nejre's head, but I feel like the two boys on either side kind of complement that white space with the them kind of filling up the corners. I could draw the blackboard in the background, but in this sort of scene, I wanted to just keep the focus on the characters, which I tend to do a lot with my work. Is I'll just take the background out of it completely, just because number one, backgrounds take too long for me, and I'm not as good, but I do really like kind of all the attention being focused on the characters. Not to say that that isn't as important, but you definitely want to, if you're trying to portray the poses like these, you want to have the focus on the characters, right? You'll notice in a lot of manga and anime that the more dynamic scenes kind of pull away from a lot of environmental details, and they more focus on the character and their actions, and that's just kind of like how I like to approach it. So now we move into Mirio. Since this is a post audio, since I'm adding this audio in post, I gotta tell you I'm really sorry about the the hair and the head. I know that this is like a consistent issue, and I just keep putting the camera too far back behind my head, and I need to figure out how to like angle it more forward. Since this is all a new setup, I have this like bendable phone holder kind of mounted to my desk, so it's not all super professional. I'm still kind of working my way through the kinks, but I hope you're learning a lot about what brand of hat I wear and how how curly my hair is. I can't really tell you a lot of you know information on maybe what shampoo I use or I'm sorry guys. I'll try to pay more attention to that one. Usually when I start recording these things, I'm just like half awake and cuz I'll start doing these drawings like as soon as I get up in the morning. So I'll have like coffee and I'll be bumbling around. All right, so we're going to move on to coloring. And one thing I should say is these sort of drawings, they take up to an hour mostly. When I'm inking and coloring the sketch, it usually takes me around an hour. So I always want to edit these sort of videos down to 15 minutes at the most and like 10 minutes at the least. So I'm still gonna edit out a lot of probably me getting in the way of the camera and stuff. So how I wanted to approach the lighting when it comes to this drawing was, if you look in the original, with them being in a classroom, you can assume that the lights are kind of above their heads, right? So I'm kind of casting all the shadows from right above the character. So as you can see with Nejire, she kind of has that highlight right at the top of her head. One little tip I recently learned in a lot of anime, which gives off this really cool sort of anime eye style that I might as well pass on to y'all, is in a lot of shots you'll see one little sort of shadow going at the very top of the eye. And I'll try to throw something up on the screen to kind of show you that, but it shows that the eyelid is, over the eye. That's kind of what that is giving off, and it adds a bit more of like a nice little detailing effect to it. So as we're going through, I kind of want to bring up a couple more examples of the down angle and kind of deconstruct them for you so you can understand how to approach it. So I'm going to bring in a couple references, one being from One Punch Man, with, our same principles that we've used in our past videos, is kind of showing the body in the sort of more middle ground, like the torso in the more middle ground of this effect. And then the next one we'll use is this really epic panel that I think is just so great, so epic, so beautiful. It's from the Redestro arc. Let me pull it up real quick. All right, so this is like one of my favorite down angles ever drawn, honestly. This kind of got me into that whole sort of world, was this specific panel. I mean, look at the man's nose. This is just so good. But if you're seeing like kind of how everything is in effect here, we'll start with Redestro and, kind of where he's placed in the composition, right? You can see that the camera is just like as if it's like a security camera. A hard circle is kind of coming in effect here, where you can see in the bottom left there is his foot just peeking out just a little bit. Like you don't need legs, you don't need to add arms, you just need a really strong sort of upper torso shot, and then the rest kind of comes in play behind it. And then the last one is actually another My Hero panel. I'm telling you, if you've seen all my videos, you can see that I draw strong inspiration from My Hero. But it's the very first panel where Deku runs out to save Bakugo. All right, so right here, here's another down angle. Crazy action happening in this one. As I said before, you don't really ever have to focus on the details of the legs. It's all in the detail of the face, right? You want to really get that sort of perspective right with the face, and then the rest can kind of come second. It's kind of funny, if you take away the arm, it looks like he's doing like a Naruto run. Yeah, you just really need a strong sort of directional sense of where he's coming from, and based off the angle chosen, you can see that he's just took off, and because he wants to save his friend. So there's my sort of loose take on three panels that I think really do this angle justice. It's hard because I'm starting to kind of put together a little reference folder of all of the down angles I can find, just because I'm a nerd like that, and you should do it too, because collecting reference is always good and makes you a stronger artist in the end. You know, like this drawing isn't anywhere close to what Horikoshi is doing. The man is on a whole nother level, and I'm always looking at it as inspiration of, there's always more to understand when it comes to extreme angles. And uh, while it does look really cool, and while some rules can be broken, at the end of the day, it's all about conveying the energy in the composition, right? You want it to be able to make sense. And yeah, I mean that's as much as I can say, I think, about this sort of down angle. I can't really go into much more detail other than just, practice, make those heads huge and those feet small. Focus on the curve, if you're doing a tall standing character, kind of like Mirio here. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you can pull some information out of this that'll help you understand the down angle a bit more. And yeah, tag me on Instagram or something so I can kind of see your attempts at the down angle. I'd love to check them out. It's one of my favorites. Happy Easter, everybody. I hope you had a chance to celebrate, went on egg hunts, what have you, in this time. So take care, everybody.